Hi, this is Anna Imagination with a Healing, and welcome to Philosophical Coffee. If you are new to my work, I am a cartographer of the internal expanse. I am going to do a casual day today. I went through a lot of epiphany yesterday. It was wonderful. I had a wonderful, wonderful day. And I just need to decompress. Not even decompress. It's just normalize is what I call it. This is normalizing. And I'm having a lot of shifting happening. I'm seeing more visions. I don't like to use that word. It's too mystical. I can see the mathematical equations that lead to X. And as a result, I just need to stabilize. Over the next, I can't give time. I'm terrible with time. I don't know when. I cannot project when. I'm so terrible at whens that I can't see how things unfold. Well, I can see how they unfold. I can see in what order. I can see images. Well, it used to be images when I was like 4 is when it started. And now it's at a point where it's full plays happening. The image, exactly like a moving picture. I have a series of images and now I can make up the full movie. But it's just mathematical equation. It's just, oh, that's the mathematics. It's because everything's on a clock. So it makes sense. It's just logical deduction combined with mathematics and physics. But I can't tell when. I really struggle with when. I can't do it in my private life and I can't do it with any of this. But as I grew up, the visions became closer. The images got closer and closer. Like when I was a child, I could see them in the far distance of, oh, I know that's happening. And the closer I get to them happening, the more clear, the bigger the image until it's passing through me. It's like we don't actually move. Time moves through us. It's really cool. But we don't actually move. Time does. The vision, the images do. The future dimensions do. And sometimes, I don't know. I just needed downtime today. And I was thinking about philosophical coffee, and I was really pushing on the whole, I want to heal. Let's do the healing. And for me, healing is a blip. It's a blip in the big scheme of things, because what I really do is my science, my research, my dimension walking, and my physics, my math. And healing is such a blip. It's so that I only have a few weeks left in me where I'm going to retire from the healing aspect of the garden and move on to the next stage. We really, really don't grasp what healing is. We really don't. And it was the most confusing thing for me is when people would talk about healing and I'd be like, we think healing is, I have a cut. I'm just going to spend about a few weeks or a few months on this and it'll go away and then I'll be fine. Healing is a remembering of the self. It's existentialism. It is 100% you defining who you are, combined with flipping over to you understanding. And our understanding, our comprehension must be in aligned with who we are, what we are, as well as our story. And I love to use this as an example, quite literally, that we are composed of our logical health and our story health. And I said it in an earlier video this morning that there are 3 parts of a human being. There is the art, there is the science, and there is the spirituality. And spirituality can mean magic, it can mean religion, it can mean faith. Whatever word you need to use for that is your word. And then there's the artist, and that can be the dancer, the creator. The creator is really the word we need to walk away from here, is the creator. It's the imagination, the creativity. And however you create, it doesn't have to be the classic arts. You know what? That's a great way of putting it. You have the classic arts, and then you have the modern arts. And however you create, and then there's the sciences, which is your maths, your physics, and your logic, and your geometry. Well, that's part of math. Math, physics, logic, and your chemistry. And there's a war going on between all three of them. There always has been. There's this, it's either art, science, or faith. You are, a person is very much leaning toward one of these three aspects. And the problem is they really need to integrate. And integration is the point in the center, the fourth point. The fourth point in the center is integration. And when you integrate, you actually create something new every time. You have to understand, you have to, and this is the flow of things. This is the flow. This is how we learn. This is how we do everything. This is the last triangle. I don't know why, but this is the last triangle. I don't know why, but this is the last triangle. And I see a lot. I'm not scared. Oh, good God, I am not scared at all. It was May of 2022 when I saw a lot, and I saw things that were so horrific. I said, I'm making the garden. And I made the garden, and I know what I'm supposed to do, and I'm doing it. And everything else will work out. So this morning, I saw visions this morning that really upset me. Not upset me in the I'm scared or, oh my God. It rattled me and I just need to digest. So I want to talk about the connection. I talk about emotional transactions of human connection. And I can see the physics. I can lay out the physics of how it goes. It's beautiful. And I am time does not exist. Time does not exist. Time is a location. The emotional transactions of human connection. Second perspective is the learning perspective. And we toggle. We are supposed to toggle our whole life through the comfort and the adventure. And when you learn how to toggle between comfort and adventure, you find integration of the two. Trauma happens because we do not know how to use boundaries. We do not know how to use our comfort properly and effectively. We do not know how to adventure. But most importantly, we don't know how to integrate the three. Integration. No one knows integration more than a non-multiple. I misspoke. No one appreciates integration more than a multiple. My mind was at civil war. The true insanity is when you have self-internal war. Self-civil war is insanity. And we are all of everything. Every individual is all of everything. And if you do not get along with all the parts of you, then you are at self-civil war. Every one of us is made up of everything. We are all men and luminal and woman. And if you are absolutely anti-man, well, you are going to be at war with yourself. And if you are anti one religion, there's going to be a part of you that is at war with yourself. And if you are all about science, you are going to be at war with all of yourself because you have a left brain and a right brain. So for every artist who shuns science, for every artist who shuns science, they're actually shunning their left brain. For every scientist who shuns art, you are raging against your right brain. And for every person of faith who rages against science, you are shunning your left brain. Believe me, do I appreciate my logic, my sciences, my arts, my piano and my dance and my music, and my imagination, and my energy, which is really just art and logic combined. And when I sought to heal, what I actually sought was my integration. And I would heal. And then I would be like, oh, I'm still not integrated. Because I could feel the divide because, oh, I was divided. You become prejudiced against the self. Self-prejudice. You really want to know why you have a mental illness? It's because you are self-prejudiced. I was a non-multiple. I'm sorry, I was a multiple. I've switched. I've integrated so long now that I'm actually going, oh, I'm a non-multiple now. Yes. When I was a multiple, it was just a lack of self-integration. It was just civil divide. It was just the divided self. And I learned how to appreciate all of me. And in order to pull that off, I had to be absolutely not only just not prejudiced, I had to be celebratory of all the parts of me. I had my artist, my scientist, my logician. I had my spirituality. I had all of me. And I could not If I wanted sanity, if I wanted internal peace, I had to take this up with myself. And once I decided to integrate, what that decision really was the decision to love all of me. It was the decision to abandon all prejudice, because I found myself in every story. I found myself in every person. I could see my prejudice, and I could see my hate, and I could see it all. I could see myself in every one of my abusers. I could see every possibility of who I could become. And I hated certain parts of me. And I had to make real solid peace with them. I had to show myself forgiveness when I was in the second perspective, in the third perspective, in the fourth perspective, because we all were. Every one of us has to leave behind the foundational perspectives. And we have to make peace with our own foundational perspectives. I was in the second perspective. I am now the second perspective of the U of I. And I'm in the process of, I'm exposed and I'm open and I'm receiving. And my partner sent me a letter. He gifted me with his words and his time. And he gave me 2 pieces of information, advice. And I received them. And I saw his advice, the time he took to write the letter, and the words themselves as gifts that he chose to give to me. And it was suddenly this realization of he connected with me. And when I received them, I was finally open to receive them. And I could see that gifts are love. And I felt soothing. It was like I had these starved red dragons covered in red fur that just rippled like fire in rage. And upon receiving, this is what receiving does. It was like I received psychological fruits. And I'd spent my whole life trying to eat, and I couldn't. I could not get enough. I equate this to emotional diabetic. For those of you who do not know about diabetes, diabetes works like this. I'm going to say this. I have not studied medical. Somebody who had diabetes explained this analogy to me, and I'm translating her analogy to you. Your body cannot process nutrients. So no matter how much you eat, you starve. That's diabetic, which is why some overweight people with diabetes will gorge themselves, but they're starving. And they have to take insulin, because I believe insulin is what allows the processing of the nutrients. So there's the food, and then there's the nutrients. And our bodies are supposed to be regulated to draw out the nutrients from the food. But in a diabetic, the processing isn't working. So they're getting no nutrients from food. Even though they're eating, they're getting 0 nutrients. As a result, they're starving, even though they're gorging. When you are closed in trauma, in your comfort zone, or in fear, you can gorge yourself and you are not going to get a single nutrient. Emotional nutrients. We require emotional nutrients. We're starved for them. We are so starved for them that we are hateful, angry, vile, aggressive, abusive. We are starving because we are craving emotional nutrients. But the only way you can actually get emotional nutrients is if you are open. And if you are not going to allow vulnerability in order to be open, you are not going to get emotional nutrients. Vulnerability is the emotion you receive at the second perspective. It means open to receive. And it is absolutely active. It needs to be active when you do an emotional transaction. Now, you can do an emotional transaction for human connection anytime you want, but you are not going to get the emotional nutrients until and unless you are vulnerable. That only comes with intimacy. But a lot of people have a significant fear of intimacy and being vulnerable. Vulnerable and intimacy are states of being open so that you can receive the emotional nutrients to nourish you. The problem with the world today, a lot of people have emotional diabetes. That is exactly it. So we engage with others. We try and connect, and we're not getting anything. It feels like starvation because it's starvation. This creates something different called scarcity. This is why we have scarcity mindset. Narcissism is emotional diabetes. Now we see hoarding because we are starving. And it's because we are refusing to be intimate and vulnerable to allow for that emotional transaction of human connection to occur in the second perspective. So all of this transaction is occurring, but there's no emotional nourishment happening. We crave emotional nourishment. I got my first dose of emotional nourishment yesterday, and my God, did it fucking change me. So I'm going to walk you through the stages of emotional nourishment. It came through as simple kindness. The gift was kindness, which is a type of love. It soothed my dragons that raged. I saw, metaphorically, their red flaming fur coats turn into this beautiful blue and green. And for the first time in my life, I could drink, I could eat. I felt nourishment. I felt emotional nourishment. And then I felt the emotion patience. And patience is the appreciation of the moment. A patience is appreciation for the moment. I had enjoyment. I savored. I appreciated. I slowed down. I felt satisfaction. And then I felt excited for when it would happen the next time. But I wasn't done with this particular meal. I felt anticipation for the next time, but no rush because I'm still savoring. I was satisfied. I'm still satisfied. Before, when I was closed, any attention, any bid for connection, any connection that he did try to make with me, I could not pull it into me. I could not absorb it. and this is really the difference, is if you want to absorb your emotional nourishment, you're gonna have to be open, which requires intimacy and vulnerability. This is only accessible through consent and gifting. No exception. A lot of narcissists, all abusers, take this through force, which is why they're emotionally starving, which is why their scarcity mindset, which is why they're narcissists, which is why they're starving, which is why they're abusing, because they're starving. And once you step into the abuser's cycle and the abused cycle, the abused always becomes the abuser in some form. The abused always becomes the abuser. Forgiveness puts you in a position where you can get yourself back. It's the only way to get yourself back. But people don't know how to do forgiveness. And people don't know anything about love because we are lived, born, and raised in an abuser's world. More visions are coming through. Forgiveness and love switches this over into healing. And then when you heal, you find a whole different world. And we have no instruction book for that world. We are not equipped for that world. Not even a little bit. We know how to handle an abuser world, but we do not know how to handle a healed world. We're going to have to learn because all the mirrors are broken. After the satisfaction came the feeling of reward, incentive to repeat. That is true reward, incentive. There's no urgency. Urgency is gone because you're satisfied. You're no longer starving. But then I felt two more emotions came later. These emotions are different. And I don't know if these are a direct result of the patience and the emotional transaction, or if they are a link to empathy and my cured narcissism. So I do not know. This is a solid, I do not know. The emotions I felt were modesty and unpretension. And I don't know about you, but I'm going to give a big, oh, thank fucking God, it's about time, because it was immediate relief. When I felt these emotions, I'm like, oh, thank God, because I have a lot to say about that, but we're going to get to that. So I felt modesty and unpretension settle right and solid. And I went, oh, yes, yes. Oh, I've been waiting for you guys. And I grabbed them and just hugged them into me. And I went, I don't know if you are here because of patience and emotional transactions, or if you're here because of narcissism and empathy. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if they are a direct result of the second perspective of the you of I, which is part of the narcissism and the empathy, or if they are a consequence of the emotional transaction. So I missed the boat on this one, which is okay. It means that I'm going to have to ask other people when they learned modesty and unpretension. Unpretensiousness, unpretension. If they learned these emotions after narcissism empathy, or after the emotional transaction took place. So this is now officially an I don't know. Now, that being said, what this is specifically is the linear emotional ladder of internalizing emotions. Emotions exist in two types. There is the narcissist emotion. There's the closed emotion. And then there's the open emotion. The open emotion is when you feel the emotion in an open state of receiving. Things are different. And then there is the closed emotion where you feel the emotions, but they are a fraction of the fraction. I used a lemon example yesterday in this, that if you eat a lemon, people think, oh, lemons are sour. No, they are not. They are sweet. You have to grow your own tree, pick them fresh from nature, and then eat them. And they are sweet. They are sour just prior to the last stage of ripeness. They are picked before they can develop the sugars to make them sweet. People do not know this. You have to grow your own lemon tree and eat them right off the tree and pick them when they're actually ripe to know that lemons are sweet. But because of scarcity and close-mindedness, we are prematurely picking the lemons and we are sinking our teeth into them to get a sour taste. But we're starved because of our emotional diabetes. So the reward for these 12 perspectives is the emotional transactions, is the sweet lemons, is the ability to nourish yourself on the actual full emotion. And emotional nourishment is something I'm going to be speaking a lot about. Emotional nourishment. Emotional nourishment is very much the thing that's what we are missing. But you can't get emotional nourishment until you know how to be open, which you can't get until the second perspective, which you can't get until you go through the entire 12 perspectives of the eye of I. Or if you are fortunate enough to be born into a loving home of wisdom love. There are 4 types of love. There is wisdom love, romantic love, brotherly love, mankind, omniscient love. Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh my God, is that beautiful? Wow, is that so beautiful? Omniscient love. And you do not get these, you will emotionally starve if you do not learn self-love. You must have wisdom love in order to have emotional nourishment. And because our society, our system, our everything is abusive, we don't have wisdom love anywhere in our system. It was strategically removed in the 4th century. You do not get to really enjoy life without wisdom love. So there's a lot of romantic love going around without wisdom love. When you take the wisdom love out of romantic love, you have narcissism. I can't look at romantic love now without going, oh, that's narcissism. That's how deeply embedded it into our world it is a lot of the traditional romantic gestures are actually narcissism. And it's fine if you have wisdom love, but no one has access to that yet. I mean, you have access now, but so undertaking this journey will literally provide you with the emotional nourishment. Now, I was talking to a friend of mine last night. I have great shame. Not really, not anymore. I had many times great shame over my videos prior. And I hated how angry I was. I hated how aggressive I was. And I said, at the same time, that was part of the process. It's not pretty. It is not pretty. It is part of the process. It is healing. And there's going to be times when you're angry and hateful. And there's going to be times that you are just vile and aggressive. I was abused by ignorant people because they were ignorant. I was abused and significantly harmed by stupid and uneducated people. I was significantly abused by Christians. Horribly so. So for a time, I was very aggressive, angry, and resentful. And I had to work through that. And I was explaining this to my psychologist friend, explaining to her that we, the patient, put psychologists on this pedestal. And I said, I felt it. Oh, look at you. You I revere because you live without mental trauma. It's this assumption. It's this feeling of, here's this person who's never known trauma, trying to work with me through mine. And I felt it with every psychologist. How the fuck do you know anything about me? How can you relate to me to help me through my problem? You have no idea what I've been through. And when I first met my psychologist friend, she made a very, very not a recommendation, but just a comment about if I were to get my degree. And I became angry because I was abused by ignorant, stupid people with associate's degrees who felt I would be nothing without a degree. And there's a lot more psychology that went on that I'm not going to dive into, but I realized at a certain point that if I were to have a degree, I would be unrelatable to the people. And that is something I did not and do not want. I want to be relatable. With my high school diploma, who was traumatized for 40 years, I'm fuck relatable. And the minute I get a degree, I'm no longer relatable. Degrees in our mentality put this rift. Oh, you're the educated. You're the college graduate versus the I didn't go to college. The majority of people don't. And to have somebody in this state of authority with a degree working with people who have high school diplomas, who are high school dropouts, it's a different world. And you feel the authority and the power and the control shift. And that authority, power, control shift is the core of all of this. To understand the exchange and the transaction that occurs with authority and power and control is significant. And understanding authority, power, control is so much a part of all of this. Authority is literally self-permission. It is self-permission. That's really what it is. Authority is 100% your command of yourself. And there's people who say, oh, well, I can't. Well, you are literally surrendering your authority. You have the authority to surrender your authority. And by surrendering your authority, you have chosen by authority to not have your authority. And it's all in the mindset, I can't. The minute you say, I can, I will, I do. Now that's authority. But here's the thing. It's not a, can you see this? It's not a either or. I can't is also part of that authority. So it's not, I can't, I can, I will, I do. Authority is over here. Non-authority is over here. No, honey, no. It's the same thing. You have the authority to say, I can't. You are exercising authority when you say, I can't. You have deemed it. It is the will of the king. The king says he can't, therefore he can't. This is how the subconscious mind thinks. The authority, oh, there you are. The authority is the subconscious mind. I have been looking for your name. I have been looking for your name for a very long time. We've got everybody now, guys. We've got everybody. Intuition is our logic. Intuition is our logical sense. And subconscious mind is our authority. Oh, that makes so much more sense. Oh, everything makes sense now. So when you say the words, I can't, you are exercising your authority. You've chosen that you can't. Because authority is the choice. It's always the choice. Choosing that you can't is still a choice. Choosing that you can is also a choice. Choosing that you will is a choice. And choosing that you do is a choice. Choosing that you are. Choosing what you will be, who you will be, what you will do to define who you will be, becoming, and then being. This is authority. I can't. Oh, well, you have chosen. The queen has spoken. You can't. There is your choice. Why are you choosing can't over can? That's the question. Because they won't let you. There is no, you have chosen that they won't let you. You have decided that they won't let you, but you've decided. That's the difference. It's not in the who will allow it. It's not the allowance. And really wrap your head around this. It's not the allowance. It is the choosing. You've chosen not to fight. You've chosen to be passive. You've chosen to be assertive. And whatever you choose, whether it's the fight, the passivity, or the assertiveness, you've chosen, which determines what is allowed. You have chosen the allowance. There is chosen, and then there's allowance. People think that authority is in the allowance, and it's not. It's in the choosing. And when you choose to be passive, when you choose to be victim, when you choose to be abused, you are surrendering. You are surrendering your safety. That's what you're doing. You are surrendering your safety. You're not surrendering your authority. You are giving them your safety. You can choose. You can fight. You might be scared. That's different. But call a tomato, call a duck. And that's what we're not doing. This is what we talk about with self-honesty, is understanding the true, choosing the allowance and the authority. And there is this awareness is talked a lot in healing, and it's not awareness. Awareness it comes after education. You have to have education first, and then you have awareness. And if people were educated, then they would know that awareness is not the first step. Education is. But because we are not educated, people are not making the connection to education. One of my favorite questions is, what is wrong with the world today? And there's a lot of arguing over what is wrong with the world today. This is what I call irony. And this is where I love irony. I really do. It's like my favorite type of humor. What is wrong with the world today? And then you've got people going, politics, mothers, LGBTQIA. And there's like all these things that are all coming out, hypothesizing. What is wrong with the world today? Education. Because if we all had the education, we would not be asking the question, we would know. Education is what is wrong with the world today. Because if you had the education, then we would not be asking this question, would we be solving it? But no one can figure out what's wrong with the world today because your education sucks. Bottom line, because you lack the education, you can't figure out what's wrong with the world today. It takes education to figure out what is wrong with the world today and then how to solve it. That's problem solving, which we cannot do until we become educated. So what's wrong with the world today? Education. And it's so bad that people cannot figure out what is wrong with the world today. Irony. I will forever love irony. I love irony. And it's the same thing with awareness. You're not aware because you're not educated. And I'm going to say again, you means to whom it may apply. And when we have our awareness, I mean, it doesn't matter. You can't get awareness without education. It's mind-blowing to me how much we miss the mark on this every time. Well, you need awareness. Well, you need awareness. No, you don't. No, you don't. Omniscient point of view. You require omniscient point of view. Education gets you to omniscient point of view. Bottom line, you have to be educated to access the omniscient point of view. And if you had the omniscient point of view, you would see that the top of it is education. And then under education is information. And then with information, you get to awareness. But you have to have processing happening properly. And it's not. Oh my God, no. A lot of people struggle with processing because we speak 4 variations of 12 languages per language. There are 48 unidentified languages going around right now in the world in just English alone. French also has 48 unrecognized languages happening. That's not including regional dialects. There are 48 languages that are currently out there right now that no one knows about. I translate these 48 languages for a living. That is what I do. And when I discovered the 48 languages and I started to map them all out, I suddenly went, oh, I get it now. Now, in addition to the 48 languages, there's also 4 different pillars of languages, of word usage. There is the psychology of linguistics. That's what I study, the psychology of linguistics. So it's not just linguistics. No, it's the psychology of linguistics, which people don't even know exists because interdisciplinary studies, back to that education. You need education to understand this. So the very first problem at the top, education. Second problem, communication. Absolutely communication. Third problem, prejudice. Prejudice. Education, communication, prejudice. That's it. The more educated you become, the more information you get, the more aware you get, the more you can communicate, the more tolerant you become. Prejudice. This concept of everyone has to use the exact same word in the exact same time and get rid of it, because that's the problem. That is linguistic prejudice. That is a prejudice against language. And it's ripping us apart. There are 48. We are looking at a massive need for tolerance and then celebration for diversity, because we are all of everything. And if you do not adopt this mindset, well, you haven't. Look at the world. Exhibit A. The psychology of linguistics is the words we use the psychological actual meaning of the emotion that it evokes. The abuser's translation and the self-internalized. This is deep shit, I know. This is something I will be breaking down for a very long time. This is probably going to become the majority of my work in the future, the very near future. I am writing a book right now called The Theory of Love, and it walks people through the healing process, Triadic Healing, and the wisdom love. And then it takes over from there. I'm also going to be writing an online course, and that is also going to be pretty much everything in the book corresponding with the course, in addition to a workbook. This is my current project, those three things: the online course, the book, and the workbook. After that, I'm done with healing. I'm done with it. I'm going to be retiring my healing, and I'm going to be looking instead on language. I'm going to be getting into the psychology of language. I'm going to be continuing with my dimension theories. There's a lot going on there. And I'm going to continue my cartography of the internal expanse. And I'm going to be focusing a lot on the importance and the value of education. That is definitely going to be the three areas that I absolutely dive into. But the healing aspect is really going to get retired because it's such a blip. It's a very small blip. It's a hiccup. It's like somebody brought me in and said, no, I followed a rabbit down a rabbit hole. That's what happened. There was no somebody. I saw a rabbit and went, well, that doesn't make sense. And I followed this rabbit down a rabbit hole. I found something that I just... responsibility, blame. These are red herring distractions. Irrelevant red herring distractions that do not solve problems. In fact, it delays the problem solving. Distraction delays problem solving. And there is this blame over who hurt who, but there's another kind of blame. In my opinion, it is a far dirtier blame game. It is who is responsible for the good. There's people claiming, well, God gave that power to you. And it comes down to two things. There is the self, and then there is the other. And blaming the bad, I can kind of understand, because the goal in that case is I want to stop it. So there's actually a moral incentive. Oh, this is going to piss off so many people. There's actually a moral incentive behind blaming the bad because you want to stop the pain. So I can appreciate the moral incentive behind blaming for the bad. It's not the right way to do it, but I can really appreciate the moral incentive. It's an attempt at problem solving. However, blaming the good and arguing over who gave you what is petty fucking garbage. Because there is no incentive to stop the pain. It is, oh, let's figure out what this is, because this is really where I'm going, what is going on in these cases? I have to show you this because this cracks me up. This is a mathematical joke. So I don't want to draw an entire line down, so I did these instead. And every mathematician is giggling because that's funny math shit there. I don't want to draw an entire line down the page, so I'm just going to do like an arrow, and there you go. It's implied. And I do this a lot now, and it's subconscious. I'm like, that's so funny. I see what I've done there. Mathematical humor. And so so there is no benefit. There's no moral incentive as to why people go, I did this. I do know. And I'm going to pull from Ayn Rand because this is 100%. It is the ego of I. It is Literally, oh, it's narcissism. That's what that is. Oh, I can see it now. That is narcissism. I am 100% understandable and forgiving for someone who wants to blame the bad. I want to stop the pain. Hey, I get it. And you might not know how. So this might be your attempt at problem solving. It's not the right answer because it's still a distraction, but I commend you for your efforts. I get it. You want to stop the pain and you don't know how. Problem solve it. Where did the pain come from? You've started the problem solving. I commend you. But the people who blame God for all the goodness, who are very careful to make sure that hey, you didn't do that. God did. You make sure you give credit where credit's due. You didn't do that. Now you're just being a narcissistic asshole. And I'll tell you why. It's because there is no moral incentive. No damage was done. There is no need or desire to stop any pain. There is no problem solving happening here. What is going on here is not problem solving. It is abuse. It is literally ego abuse. I'm going to be talking a lot about ego abuse. Poor ego. It's okay. It's all right. I'm going to argue. Poor ego. Ego abuse is 100% the leading cause of suicide. I have a serious problem with the word humility. Humility means modest or low self-esteem. Every psychologist knows the value and importance of self-esteem. Self-esteem is wisdom love. You need self-esteem to keep you alive. But there is such an aversion to ego and preserving God's ego that there are ego fighters in the world, people dedicated to make sure God gets his dues. So in order to make sure God's ego stays preserved, there's a lot of people, narcissists, who literally attack the ego of other people. And what that ends up doing is they use words like humility to slander and abuse the ego of other people, making sure you don't get bigger than your britches, making sure you stay small, making sure you stay in check. Why? Is God's ego so fragile that there's no room for mine? So that when you do something fantastic, I did this work, that there are ego abusers who will then step in and say, yeah, but God gave you that power. What are you doing? I did this. Don't take away from my I. You leave my I alone, because my I is built on the self, which is wisdom love. And I have a whole psychological thing happening here. When I started to heal, this was recent. This was like 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. I'm going to talk about this because this is vital to my growth. It was about 2 to 3 months ago. And I had slave mind still inside of me. I was 40 years a slave. You want to talk about the consequence of 40 years a slave? You can't make eye contact with people, especially men. You have to be obedient. You're a people pleaser. You don't dare contradict. Oh my God, contradiction was, ooh, that's a death sentence. You don't contradict. You don't argue. You have to survive. I grew up raised under the boots of abusers. And the consequence of that is something I call slave mind. I could not recover from it because the humility and the anti-ego was so severe that every time I grew, I shrank. Every time I tried to grow, I immediately snapped back. It was driving me crazy. It was literally like a rubber band. I wanted to be proud. I wanted to have confidence. I wanted to just feel good about me. I wanted self-esteem. I wanted dignity. That's all I wanted was fucking dignity. And I just learned what the word is now. And I'll tell you why I couldn't figure it out before now is because I was a slave. Because dignity is not allowed. Oh, this is going to hurt. They took my dignity from me. And all I wanted was dignity. And I could not get it because the humility was too high. And I knew how emotions work with physics. And I knew that, oh, I have a surplus of negative. I need a surplus of positive to counteract because every emotion, every action requires an equal and opposite reaction. So I knew that if I had a surplus of humility, I required arrogance to counter it. And this got me so much abuse from ego abusers. This got me so much abuse from ego abusers. All I wanted was fucking dignity. But you can't get dignity when you're raised a slave unless and until. So I knew logically, because of physics, that in order to stamp out my humility once and for all, I needed arrogance, and I needed a lot of it because I was up against slavery. So I purposely took arrogance and literally dosed myself medicinally with arrogance to cross out the humility and the anti-ego just so I could get a chance at getting dignity. It worked. And that is when I realized, oh my God, I'm smart. I'm not going to recap. It's all in the videos. But I walked into a realization of really who I was. Now, I flaunted it because, and I remember the first few days of it, I felt like, oh my God, I have arrogance. This is dangerous. And then I went, okay, it's okay. It's all right. And then day 4 hit and I went, oh yes, I was arrogant. Absolutely. And it was maybe a weekend and I went, all right, I need to turn this down. And I did not know how to turn it down. Now, my first thought was humility. And I went, no, I'm not going back because humility means low self-esteem. I just got my self-esteem. No, I didn't. I did, but I didn't. I countered the positive and the negative charge in my brain. So now I had a surplus of the positive. I did not yet have self-esteem. I did not yet have self-esteem. This is how I got over my slave mind. I wanted self-esteem. I wanted security. Oh, I know how I got that. I know what I did. I wanted confidence. I found my pride. I found my confidence when I dosed myself with this insatiable arrogance. I did not yet know dignity. Now, empathy. I required empathy. Empathy is a big part of this. And I did not have empathy at that time. I also had narcissism. So I struggled because I definitely felt the surplus of arrogance. And I definitely felt like, okay, I'm definitely over the humility and I'm out of slave mind. And then it was like, all right. And I could look people in the eye and I felt the slave mind gone. So I was finally out of slave mind. That's when I really got vocal. Now, the very first thing that happened was my partner said, you need a good dose of humility. Ego abuser. He does not know. He also struggles with significant humility, a surplus of humility. And I was trying to figure out a healthy way to turn down the arrogance. Definitely empathy. Modesty is what I needed. I felt self-value after that. Self-value is definitely it. And on between 16th of December and the 1st of January, I learned empathy finally. When I did, it was around the 1st of January that I found empathy. And when I found empathy, I was able to, oh, now I want to be nice to people. I really wanted to be nice to people. I really wanted to tune it down. And I was frustrated because I was like, come on, how do I turn this down? And it really was something yesterday. Like I said, this is where I don't know. I experienced my patience. I experienced patience, savoring, satisfaction, anticipation. And then I felt modesty and unpretentiousness, which feels icky to now talk about because it feels like boasting, but it's not. It's just me trying to state fact in this particular moment, but it still feels icky. And now I feel dignity for the first time and grace. And the arrogance is gone. And I feel so much better. I have been looking for modesty for a long time, for modesty and that unpretension, dignity, grace. I don't think those are the right words, but those are the best ones. And I did it without dosing humility. I will never touch humility again. Those are really like that. Those are you belong in the pig pen with the cattle. That's humility. I am a BDSM dominatrix. I know humility. And to have people tell me that they think they know what humility is, I'm like, you need to walk into the world of BDSM because you don't know what humility is. You really don't. It is no self-esteem. It is low and degradation. That is what humility really is degradation. Call a duck a duck. Humility is degradation. I lived a slave for 40 years. I know this. So I didn't want degradation because that's what humility is. I wanted empathy and I wanted dignity and grace and I wanted self-esteem and self-value. And I used arrogance to stamp out the degradation and the humility, thank God. And I'm going to tell you right now, I have a lot more pride, a lot more respect for arrogance than humility. Humility is not noble. Everyone knows that arrogance is excessive. Everyone glorifies degradation. And that's when I have a real problem with the glorification of humility. Humility is fucking disgusting. As far as I'm concerned, it should not be in our system. It needs to be an extinct state of mind. Being humble is not noble. It's fucking disgusting. It's glorified degradation. Yeah, that's a lot of my slave rage coming out. It is literally an emotion that is designed to be glorified so that you want to be a slave. True story. So here I am now. And I used arrogance to completely wipe that crap out of me. And then I got this beautiful balance of just emotions that came in. And I went, yes, finally, the arrogance can be turned down. So now I'm in this beautiful, beautiful balance. Now I just wish I had a different way of getting there other than the arrogance. But mine was such a surplus. My humility and my degradation was in such surplus that it required a massive dose. So I would still do it the same because my goal was to eliminate it quickly and powerfully. And there is so much power in arrogance. And so I would still do it again. I would have done that again. I do wish there was another way, but with how ingrained into me that humility was, as far as the fall, there's no fall. It's vulnerability. There is no fall. It's vulnerability. Before pride, you have vulnerable, and vulnerable is courage. Oh, vulnerable is absolutely beautiful. But I would have to say that arrogance is 100% the cure to humility. And yeah, I would absolutely do it the same way. And this is where I was asking my psychologist friend, do I delete all the things? And she goes, no, keep them. It's part of the process. Ugh, you are correct. Yes, it is part of the process. And maybe it's, I am sorry. To you, I apologize for all of my anger and all of my rage. I had a lot of healing to get over. And I hated how much I hated on people. I hated it so much. I hated my hate. And 10th perspective, all emotions are correct. I had to go through it because it was the path out. That's really it. And I get that a lot is, well, I'm on the right path. Sometimes I don't like the path. Oh, I hate the path sometimes. But I know I'm on the right path. And it's this not getting over it. You got to go through it. And there's going to be times where it feels right and it's lousy, but it feels right. It doesn't feel good, but it felt good. It felt right. And it felt horrible. But because I knew I was on the right path, because you got to go through it. And that's what people don't process. They think, oh, healing, you just got to get over your trauma. Oh, no, you got to go through it. You got to valley of shadow of death. The valley of shadow of death. Yeah. The valley of shadow and death is absolutely metaphorical. God, I love Pilgrim's Progress for trauma healing. That is probably one of the most profound things I have ever said. The valley of shadow and death is trauma healing. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. It is trauma healing. That is what lies ahead of you when you decide, hey, I'm going to go ahead and it's interesting. I'm going to do a little thing for me right now. It has nothing to do with you. This is for me. This is for my research. I know I'm beautiful. I hate it. Well, I don't hate it anymore. So I didn't do a goddamn thing for it. I was born. That's not impressive. Oh, but my brain, I worked for that. Blood, sweat, and tears for my brain. My beauty received an entire different treatment than my brain. My beauty was glorified by my parents. They bragged about my fucking face. I was abused for it. In the middle of every one of my rapes, I got to hear the words, "You are beautiful." I hate those words. Every fucking one of them. That's why I love my partner. He's the one who never said those words to me. He saw my brain. I love that man. I knew it. But I didn't value it. I never earned it. It was for me to know. Just me. Okay, I'm beautiful. Big fucking deal. It caused me a lot of pain. But my brains, I was denied them. I was beaten for them. I had to hide them. I doubted them. I didn't realize how smart I was until about 3 months ago. I had no idea. God, it feels icky saying that now. Good. I'm glad. I wish I'm manifesting this right now. I wish I handled my intelligence the way I now handle my beauty. I wish I was as modest about my intelligence as I am about my beauty. That is what I wish for me. I really do. But it took a different path to get here because my beauty was already acknowledged. It's like the stages of acknowledgement and validation. That's what this feels like. The stages of validation. There's the realization. I remember I was 8 years old and I had this moment in the mirror. Oh, I'm beautiful. Okay, noted, big deal. So what? And then after the realization, It was an internal sense of pride. And then the abuse started. And then I heard nothing but how fucking pretty I was. But the realization and the pride, it was just knowing it. Realization, knowing, pride, the end. That's it. The abuse is a whole nother story. But with my brain, I had to go a different route. I did not know it. I went through the realization, which then led to shock and awe. Oh my God, I was stunned. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. And then there's the scope. Okay, how? Then there's the measurement. And I did this with my looks. How pretty am I? How smart am I? I think we all do this. How X? What's the quantity of? What's the quantity of? I had to measure it. Oh, look at that. It's the stages of change. It's the perspective shift. Oh, that's fascinating. Shock and awe. And then it's inventory. You take inventory. And then it's the oh. And then there's the anger stage. That's arrogance. I was angry because I realized I was going through the changes of grief. That's what that was. I realized I became arrogant, but I couldn't realize it until I became arrogant. Literally, arrogance is what allowed this. Arrogance came prior. This is what this is beautiful. So it was humility, which literally denied me the ability to realize it. I had humility, and then I dosed myself with arrogance, and then I realized it. And then I had shock and awe of, oh my God, I'm smart. I had no idea. And then I took inventory, and I started to realize how smart I was. And then I got angry because I got to measure the extent of my abuse. If you are this smart and you think you're this stupid, this is how much you were abused. But when you're this smart and you think you're this stupid, this is how much you are abused. And I went, oh, I just got to measure my abuse. Poor me. It's called self-pity. And it is a mandatory emotion to feel. It is a beautiful emotion. It's self-sympathy. Because in self-pity, in self-sympathy, we have self-empathy. Oh my God, do we need it? And then with self-empathy, you learn modesty. I found it. So, modesty and unpretension does not come from narcissism being cured, and it does not come from the emotional transaction. It comes from the changes of ethical or perspective growth when you recover from self-awareness that was taken from you, that was denied of you. It is the denial of self-awareness. It is the revival, the healing, and the recovery, the reunion of the self, one of your qualities. Just one of your qualities. You have to go through this with all of your qualities. That's what this is. It is the reunion, recovery, revival, and the healing. It is the return of your qualities. And when one of your qualities is taken away from you, it is a part of you that's been destroyed. And your qualities are your tools. It's your resource. And all they wanted to talk about was my fucking face. But that was, I remember. I realized it. I knew it. I measured the quantity. I had pride. The end. And then there was a whole bunch of bullshit that followed because of it. And then I ended up resenting it, hating it, because I blamed it. And then I realized, oh, it doesn't matter how pretty you are. I remember when I came to New York City in 2020, I had this one person, one of my atoms, and he was so indifferent to my face. I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, you're pretty, but so are people. Yes. I'm like, yes. Oh, I was so happy to be here. Finally. And I realized it. Yeah, there's a lot of beautiful people here in New York City. Beautiful people. I'm not the only one. And I realized upstate, I was the only one. Yeah, people are really fucking ugly upstate. It's because of the abuse, the obesity, the trauma, and the drugs. And I didn't realize, yeah, literally, I was fucking gorgeous there. But then when I got to New York, I was average. And I went, yes. So it was wonderful. It was like a massive respite, which is another reason why I'm here, is because people look at me and it's like, who gives a fuck? And I'm like, yes, it's the way it's supposed to be. So I'm average here and I love it so much. But then I had to go through a completely different route with my brain. And it's this process, the healing process of the revival of one of your qualities. And it's ironic because the quality in you that's abused is the one they view the most threatened by. And that is the reason. It took me years. I couldn't figure out. I could not figure out why my brother beat me. I could not figure it out. I was like racking my brain going, why did my brother beat me so much? And it took me a long time. And I do mean like 3 months ago is when I realized the why, that I started to, and I remember my father would pin my brother down to the floor and beat him with a 2x4. True story. Because he was not smart enough, because his sister was smarter than him. That's what all of this started, is because of non-consensual education. My brother refused to do his homework because of non-consensual education. And it was a power struggle that my brother had over his own authority. And the fight was his education. So my brother would say, no, I'm not doing my homework, because he needed the authority. So my father would pin him to the floor and beat him with a 2x4. And then my father would continue to, it was a horrible year. Those were like 3 years of my father, just how dare you. Your sister's smarter than you. She's a fucking girl and she's smarter than you. And then my brother would come to my room and beat me and say, it would start off with him knocking on my door. What's your IQ? You need to do an IQ test. How smart are you? What's your favorite class? And then he would find stupid arguments. He would literally instigate it because he needed to feel authoritative and powerful over his own education. So intelligence. I need to clarify, it was his intelligence. So he felt stupid. Memories just flooded. Oh, I remember. He called me stupid. Oh, he called me stupid so much. And then he would beat me. Oh, I was trauma bonded to the word stupid. I couldn't. My subconscious mind just said, here, you can have this one. And I just got all of them. My brother linked his intelligence with non-consensual education. So to feel intelligent, he would challenge me because my father would be like, your sister's smarter, your sister's smarter, your sister's getting better grades. I remember, oh, I forgot. We were doing multiplication tables. I love math. I really love math. And 81. 9 times 9 is 81. When I got the multiplication table, I consumed it. Oh my God, I loved it so much. I had it memorized in a day. And my brother was going through his homework with my father, and he was asking my brother the questions, and I was popping off with the answers. I was just rattling off the math so fucking fast. And that's when my abuse started. My father would then scream, your fucking sister knows this stuff. I was 6. I remember being 6 years old and being able to rattle off all the mathematical timetables. I don't know if that's normal or not, but that's when he started torturing animals. That's when he started beating me. That's when he started terrorizing me. And it was targeted at my intelligence, and he would call me stupid. And I grew up watching my father beat him with a board. Non-consensual education. Yeah, this is all linked to how I internalized my own intelligence. I didn't understand why he hit me. I could not understand the abuse. And it was like 2 or 3 months ago, it was like, oh, this is why I was beaten. For 30 plus years, I had no idea why he did this to me. And so I wasn't allowed science because I was a girl. I wasn't allowed math because I was a girl. That's when it came to the math and sciences, my subconscious mind would fail me on purpose. Well, my subconscious mind would fail me because, oh, you can't do that. Belief. Subconscious mind receives the logical fallacy, girls can't do science. Girls can't do math. And I struggled so much with science and math, even though I loved it so much. I would do algebraic equations to calm me down. That is, to this day, I do that. I do algebraic equations as self-care because, oh, I love the order of the logic. But no one said anything about logic. No one said anything about philosophy. So I was able to do physics, philosophy, and logic on the side without any kind of disruption from my subconscious mind. Thank you. That makes so much sense. Yeah, subconscious mind is the authority. It is the thing in your brain that tells you, okay, you're allowed to have this. You're not allowed to have this. Oh, your subconscious mind is your authority. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, yes, it is. It is you versus your conscious awareness, ego. It is your ego versus your authority. Oh, my dear, are we going to have a talk? Yep. I love it when they allow themselves to be named. So we have logic, that's intuition. And authority is your subconscious mind. And your ego is your conscious awareness. I understand. Oh, wow. Do I see this now? This is changes the 6-part mental system. And then you've got identity, authority. Super ego always bothered me. So I'm gonna go Freud here a little bit. Identity, okay, id, ego, super ego. Id, I knew that one right away. When I recognized identity, I went, oh, that's totally the id. I knew that. Conscious awareness took me a long time to figure out. And I kept thinking in the background, ego, super ego, id. That's legit. That's legit stuff. That's the stuff with Freud where I'm going, you got something there, Freud. And that's all he wrote. Like that's it. That's all he got. He got id, ego, super ego. Everything else is garbage. And I'm sitting here going, okay, actually, I don't know if that's all. I don't know. But the id, the ego, the superego really stood out to me. I actually want to go back on Freud and reread all of his work, and because now I'm really curious, really, really curious now how it aligns with my perspectives. Oh, I'm suddenly very curious. See, I love being in the adventuring. Yes, I love it. Yes, teach me, Freud, teach me. So, identity, ego, superego. And so I'm looking at identity, id. I'm looking at ego, conscious awareness. And I remember the day I realized, oh, conscious awareness is ego. And I could not figure out the subconscious mind. I'm like, you are something. And I knew I was calling him subconscious mind. I knew that was wrong. I knew it. It was wrong. I knew it. I'm sitting here going, because the whole thing is the subconscious mind. And I'm going, I'm calling you the subconscious mind, but you're really not. And I just haven't figured you out yet. We can't call it subconscious mind anymore because it's now conscious. There's way too much conscious awareness now for it to be subconscious for me. I have eliminated my own subconscious mind because there's way too much consciousness up there now. It's so funny how to turn your subconscious mind over to your consciousness, how to become conscious of your subconscious mind. This is the shit I do. I love it. So I knew id right away. And with conscious awareness, it was suddenly oh, you're the ego. So I refer to the conscious awareness as ego. I still prefer referring to it as conscious awareness to differentiate between all the other people in here. Intuition took me a long time. That was where the spirituality came from. Physics, you little beautiful bitch. So I was like, okay, is this the Holy Spirit? What is intuition? Is it the universe? Is it the chakras? What is this? Is it the energy? It was definitely the energy. And it was definitely an external energy. Definitely an external energy. But that's when I realized, it was like a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, that I had this, I know who you are now. And I would ask her, I'm like, who are you? And she'd be like, who am I? Who am I? You fucking bitch. And I'd just be like, who are you? Oh, who am I? You know my name. What's my name? And I'm like, who are you? Say my name. That's such BDSM shit. Say my name. Say it. And it just came to me about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, where it was suddenly this, oh, it's logic. It's internal logic. It's internal math. It's internal physics. And she went, bingo. And I stopped talking to her after that. I went, why am I talking to a bunch of physics, logic, and math? That's illogical. So now I do not talk to the universe because it's not the universe anymore. It's just a big clock. It's inanimate. You are inanimate. So now I feel silly talking to intuition. And I was still bothered by subconscious mind. And I knew it was super ego, but I'm like, no, I love you, Freud. But no, I don't love you, Freud. I don't know what I feel about you, Freud. I'm having mixed feelings, much like Lewis Carroll. I'm having mixed feelings. And I couldn't figure it out. Super ego. Let me pull up what Freud says about super ego. There's a lot of it. Let me see here. Let me look here. Authority. No, I want to look up super ego. I have no idea how long I've been recording. Oh, perfect. I'm not over. Super ego definition. Here we go. The part of a person's mind that acts as a self-critical consciousness, reflecting social standards learned from parents and teachers. Oh, no. Oh, I'm going to put that down before I get angry. No. So much illogic in that statement. I'm just going to put that over there and just not touch it. Get it far away. I take back everything I just said about Freud. All of it is now null and void. I just got to go back to the no. I remember now why I don't like Freud. So, authority is your subconscious mind. It is the thing that determines this is what's going to go into your system. This is what's going to go into your system. This is your logical line, and this is your story health. Now, I have a job to keep you safe. Oh shit, you are compromising the logical health in the story. Now, what the fuck? And at that moment, it will have to start to rewire your logic to keep you functioning. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I have a new person in my life, in my group. And I'm very excited. I speak to him tomorrow for the first time. I'm very, very excited to meet him. It was hey, how are you? Here's an exchange of my work. And we both launched into each other's work. We're like, oh my God, I gotta talk. And I was up until like midnight last night. And then this morning, same thing. This morning, I was like right up and he had like 4 things. And I'm like, oh, I got to comment. And I had a story. Oh, yes. Story health, logic health. And I said, I've never said this out loud. It's in my mind, but I've never said it out loud. And I spoke it for the first time out loud in this voice message to him. And I'm saying it here for the first time. My work is symbiotic to my sanity. My work, my logic, my comprehension, all of this is symbiotic to my mental health. I am mentally healthy because of my work. To unravel my work would be to tear down my psychology. That's why I do not allow comments on my video. It's because you're not attacking my thoughts. You are not attacking to whom it may apply. When people comment on my work, they're not pulling apart my work. They're pulling apart the psychology that I had to build to get me out of insanity. It is a personal attack on me because I am symbiotic to my work. I have taken the liberty of sharing my information, but it is not up for debate because this is the stuff that keeps me sane. I am symbiotic to it. My logical line, unlike everybody else's in the world, is not hypothesis. I am the author of it. I'm not parroting this stuff. I am the author. I need it to live, to breathe, to function, to think. It's mine. This is the difference between author and parrot. An author becomes symbiotic with their comprehension. Their sanity, their life, their comprehension of the world depends upon it, which is why it's not up for debate. I don't care if it's compatible with you. If it is, great. I hope it helps you. If it's not meant for you. This reflects me. This is what worked for me. And I come from a very horrible place. And this is how I wove myself back together again in pieces using logic, math, and physics. And this is the road I took to get here. I am symbiotic with my work. I am now sane, solid, comprehensible because of my work. To attack, criticize, pull apart, contradict my work is to tear apart my sanity. Don't touch it. I need it. You have your own logic line, and it works for you. Good for you. I'm glad it does. But this is not a fun little thing you're reading in a book that was written 2,000 years ago that does or does not exist without you. I am the author. And this is the machination I have created and invented to put my mind back together again so I can talk, function, live, parent, breathe. Don't touch it. Now, personally, it is so mathematically correct. It is so fucking solid via physics. It is so fucking solid with logic that it is impenetrable. It has to be because it's up against the world. Don't touch it. By all means, try, but I don't want to hear about it. Now, when I have somebody who comes to me and they're willing to talk to me in Socratic method and we discuss and debate, I can talk. But aggression, rage, criticism without any openness is not allowed around me. Because those are the people who are not here to learn. They cannot be taught. They don't consent to the education, which is fine, but it also means I am not available for comment. And that's the difference. If somebody comes to me closed, I am not available for comment. If somebody comes to me open, Oh, I will receive and I will talk to you over and over again. But there are a lot of aggressors who just seek to attack, to defend, because I contradict their logic. But hey, they have the ability to walk away and keep their own logic, which is perfectly fine. But they are not allowed to attack mine. Basically, the aggressor and the closed is not authorized to comment on my work. My work is only available to the open-minded. And my being the author of it, my being hey, for everybody else in the world, my work is just information. But to me, it is my symbiotic sanity. No touching is allowed, which is why there's no comments allowed, which is why I don't take in conversations with people while I'm weaving this thing. I'm going to say that part again. While I'm weaving it, this was something else. I'm literally in the process of reading the logic, reading the universe, absorbing and uploading this and translating it. Going, okay, data received from the universe. I'm reading math, I'm reading physics, I'm reading logic, I'm accumulating them all, and I'm weaving into this massive 12th perspective plus logic, and I'm downloading it. I'm going, all right, I can see how this is. So I am weaving my sanity as we speak. I am literally in the process of weaving my sanity. And to make sure I track it and I upload it, I am putting it on the internet for others to use because, hey, I come from a place where a lot of people are stuck, and this is how I got out. So this is the roadmap and the stepping stones to where I am now. If you can use it, fantastic, here you go. But I'm still weaving it. And it's my sanity, and I'm uploading it to the internet. And every morning, I do an upload. Every morning, I provide the upload of, hey, this is the information I found. This is the philosophical coffee. Then afterwards, this is the day in the life of me. Afterwards, I sit down and I write. I accumulate a summation of all of my work in blog, article, and book form. I create tools, classrooms for people who want it. And then from there, I weave more. I study, I learn more math, I learn more physics, I learn dimension theory. Oh, I had a lot of information that I took in yesterday about dimension theory, and I went, oh, look at that. I do believe I have discovered the third dimension. Lots to say about that, and I'm currently working out the mathematical formula to prove it. I'm not going to be discussing it yet. Because where I am officially, the math is going to speak for itself. So I really don't care, literally, from this point on what people think, because I have math that does the talking for me. And math doesn't lie. So math and physics are my God, and I am their little bitch. I consent to the governing of math and physics and logic. So that is my God, and I am happily their little bitch. And they are weaving all of this stuff. And I'm going, all right, math, physics, logic, great, here you go. And once I have the math in place, then I'm not going to do any more talking. I'm just going to go, here's the math. Drop mic. And I'm also going to be trademarking this, and I got to do legal stuff to provide the math to say, here you go. But yeah. And I'm happy with that. And then I take more uploads, more data, and I put it on the internet, and I do more writing and blogging. And this is my life. And it's literally this massive circle where I weave, I put together my sanity and comprehension of the world. I go onto the internet and I upload the data so I have record of it. And then I go over and I do the writing part of my life. And then I talk and I do more weaving with the mathematics, the physics, and the logic. And now that I'm actually studying in depth the math, the physics, the logic, well, logic isn't old. I'm done with that. I have logic down to a science. I make my own proofs. I love making my own proofs. But the math and the physics is where I am now. It was funny because my daughter asked me this yesterday. She's like, are you going to ever do marine biology? Are you going to do geography or geology? And I'm like, I don't know. It seems so trivial. I did do botany, plants, and zoology. I did do archaeology. Oh, I love archaeology because it's geometry in real life. But yeah, so, and I toggle between the writing and the studies, the mathematics and the physics. So yeah. And now, like, I'm going to be a physicist when I grow up. I'm going to be a physicist when I grow up. And dimension theory is, I'm going to be doing dimension fact. That's where I'm going, is dimension fact. Dimension. I see this in my future. I can see it. I'm like, oh, I know who I am. Like, this is awesome. I'm very excited about this. Dimension fact. So that is where I'm going, as absolutely dimension. That is where I live, breathe, die, and yeah, I love dimension. So yeah. So this is me officially closing the book on, all right, I am recovered from my brain abuse that I was subjected to as a child. I have adopted and this is going to say icky, this is going to feel icky again, but the modesty and the unpretentiousness to now settle. And it's closing this massive adjustment of, I have restored a quality to me. And for you, I would say, when you are looking at the restoration of your qualities, it's a process. It's a process. And I have documented the process. So that will be available on my website. And if you want to, the beginning part, the opening part of Theory of Love is available on my website, so you can start to read it. And I'm putting out about 7,000 words a day. So it'll be finished. It's going as fast as broken, which means in about a week, it'll be done. It'll be done in about a week. God, I'm so excited. And then I'm going to be consulting with the Big Five. I'm going to go right to Random House with this one. And I'm probably going to be doing like I probably will self-publish it and throw it on Amazon and say, here it is, while I push it through Random House. So people can grab Theory of Love and read it before Random House, and then Random House will take it over. So that is my plan. That way it gets, or maybe I'll make it available via PDF. I could do that. Just do a PDF download. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Is a PDF download. That is easy fucking peasy to do. Oh, I know how to do that very easily. I get to do another book. Yes, I love doing book covers. Book covers are my favorite thing. Oh my God, the book covers. I didn't even think about the book cover. Oh, I'm so excited now. Oh, okay. I really miss building. I love book building. I love it so much. I am a writer, and I have missed this world so much. Yeah, book building is one of my favorite things to do. I started doing it yesterday, where I've got the body and I'm over here going, okay, dedication, introduction, table of contents. Let's go the layout, how put it was part, and I'm putting it all together and I'm going, I'm book building again. And I even have ISBNs. My ISBNs are all set. I'm ready to go because I have like 200 ISBNs. So, oh my God, I miss book building. Oh God, did I miss this so much. And I'm going to have to reach out. I'm going to reach out to my book cover artist today. I have the best book cover artist. Oh my God, do I? So excited, so excited, so excited. Oh, I have such beauty, such beautiful, beautiful things coming. So that is the Theory of Love. Yeah, the Theory of Love, I love it so much. Okay, I'm just so happy. So really, really excited. Lots new coming. So again, this is all available at my website. My websites, I have 3 of them. One is my authorship. If you just want to get into my fantasy book authors, that's where that is. AnnaImagination.com is my philosophy. And that is my current research. The healing portion is Anna's Healing Garden. And that's where all of healinggarden.org. That is where all of my that is specifically for the Healing Garden stuff. So those are my three aspects. I love it so much. Oh my God, I love my life. Like, I suddenly have this massive Zen moment of everything is aligned and balanced. And I'm like, I can feel this. So thank you so much for your audience. I will be here again tomorrow in the morning to do my 90-minute to 2-hour upload. Thank you so much, and may the kindest of words always find you.